This is the second day of this March 1981 7-day session, and we will continue reading from and commenting on what Wei Nang has to say on taking the 3 refuges from the chapter called Repentance Resolution. Wei Nang, from this day onward, regarding Bodhi as teacher, we shall no more take refuge in those erroneous views of the evil one, but abide with the 3 gems of our self-nature, whose brilliance are always evident. From this day onward, regarding Bodhi as teacher. Bodhi, meaning wakefulness, awareness, attention, alertness, clear seeing, in which there is no point of view, no sides to be taken. There are no sides because there is the whole. In looking at a situation, one is often asked, which side will you take? Let's not take any sides until we know the whole thing. If we can't find out the whole thing, how can we take sides? Often people will say, so-and-so treated me in such and such an unfair or rough, unjustifiable way. One must always know the whole thing. How did that person feel? Who was gruff and mean? In movies, in good movies, we're allowed that. We're allowed to see a person as he is, his background, his thoughts, his feelings, and the other one opposed, and the other one. We're allowed to see the whole thing, and then there's usually compassion. Unless we so strongly identify with one character that we cannot see, even there, the whole thing, everyone, as they are, portrayed as they are. The most evil character, this is a characteristic of more modern movies, to point out what this evilness consists of. Not just to have an idea about it, but to see a person. Become familiar, intimate with that person. And one wonders, what is evil? Is there such a thing as evil, pure evil? Or is it all causes and conditions? And what if I had been in those conditions? How would I have come out of it? Different? I don't know. I can't say. Regarding Bodhi as teacher, clear seeing. Oneself, if oneself is whole, No sides taken. No overriding concern just with one's own concerns. And one sees the whole. What other teacher is there? Nevertheless, it takes people to point out things to us so we can see what we take so much for granted, what we've never become aware of. Once it's pointed out, there's a chance all of a sudden one will have a glimpse of that after it's been pointed out. But the pointing out is not necessarily the seeing. It's the seeing oneself, in oneself. It brings the release from that. Or has the possibility of release. One may so much enjoy this that one will not let go of it. Then to see that, and not to blame it on awareness. I'm aware, but I still continue. Why? Ask yourself that, and observe it as it comes up. Why does one hold on? From this day onward, regarding Bodhi as teacher, we shall no more take refuge in those erroneous views of the evil one. Because we've read Wei Nang so often that we know Wei Nang never refers to something outside of ourselves. Even though in Buddhist legend, symbolism, iconography, there is this evil one, Mara. We ourselves have produced some pictures or prints of him on flags for plays. I wonder how the children feel about that. I would have been scared to see it. Really scared. Always so scared of these pictures of Satan, all the imagination going into making it as hideous as possible. But then psychological experts tell us children need fairy tales. To come to terms with what's going on. I wonder about this. I don't know. I love them. Myself, my parents called it, my Bible carried this little double volume of Grimm's fairy tales everywhere. It's the only book I was really knowledgeable in. And only there picked certain ones, always the same ones, over and over again. Hansel and Gretel getting lost in the forest. And that witch with a house out of gingerbread. How one can feel that they couldn't resist breaking some of that off and eating it. They were hungry. And this incredible thought that the parents had wanted to get rid of them. And this incredible stupidity, they put little crumbs out to find their way back, but the birds ate those crumbs. Why did they do that? Reading it over and over again, and of course being enticed in by the witch. And then the boy was to be eaten up. She was a cannibal. She ate little children. In this fairy tale, the girl was the clever one. Maybe that's why it was such a favorite one. I don't know. Didn't occur at the time. Telling him to hold out that little chicken bone instead of his finger. so that the witch would think he wasn't fat enough yet to be eaten. And then the witch herself got burned. Mara, the evil one. The Tibetans have a lot of iconography of these horrendous figures, Yamaraja, skulls and tusks and hound's teeth. But there's always in the background this admonition, be aware that these are nothing but the projections of your own mind. The evil one, where is he or she? Where is evil? Is there evil? What is there in oneself? Certainly selfishness that everyone can see, attest to. Self-centeredness, which often knows no limits. It will go to any distance to get satisfaction, go to any length. If there's very strong self-centeredness, then there's insensitivity to stepping on others. One doesn't even notice it. The evil one, can it be thoughts? Thoughts of revenge, which come from hurt. In modern movies, the evil one is the one with the super weapon, the super defense. Supercomputers, out-computering everybody else, but the empire always strikes back. Always someone who builds one better one. But evil is pictured in this desire to conquer the whole world, the whole universe, all galaxies, not just one, all of them. Power over others. Is that evil? Is that the evil within us? Wanting power over others because we feel so achingly powerless ourselves? Isn't it rather important to be in touch with that? Or utter insufficiency, our weaknesses? We're in touch with it. We see that. We see that we're not alone in that. Because every human being is like that. As long as there's this feeling of me and not me. Cut off from the whole. Splintered up. And the splinter itself splintered into so many more splinters. Is there evil when there is seeing of one's utter insufficiency, helplessness? Seeing how one wants to make up for it and how this is no solution, only brings more pain? Power over others, is that security? The idea, the image, may offer that temporarily. Now one is someone. Others pay one respect, but what worth is in that? but will abide with the three gems of our self-nature, whose brilliance is always self-evident. I advise you to take refuge in the three gems of your self-nature. In the Buddha, which means to be awakened. In the Dharma, which means the perfect view. Wholeness, completeness, no partiality, no taking sides. On the previous page, commenting on the vow to study the limitless Dharma, which is our vow to Dharma gates beyond measure, I vow to penetrate. As to the vow to study the limitless Dharma, this is the necessity to practice constantly the Dharma of seeing into oneself nature. Seeing into oneself, into the truth of oneself. Not just some vague thing of this truth being some light and emptiness, but what's coming up at the moment. Jealousy. At this moment, it's the truth of oneself. One is jealous. There's no denying it, no whitewashing it. Can it be seen? The danger of it. The pain of it, the shadow of it, the division of it. That is seen, and jealousy is no longer jealousy. It melts. Because it is understood. One sees where it comes from, wanting to have power or ownership or possession of someone else or something else. Because one is so empty inside. Can that be seen? This inner gnawing, aching emptiness. And not be filled. Not be filled blindly, unknowingly, just hoping this will take care of it. To study the limitless Dharma, this is the necessity to practice constantly, not just once and for all. I've seen it now, hopefully I've seen it forever. No, it doesn't work this way. We're heavily conditioned, heavily habituated, heavily drilled, trained, educated, indoctrinated, brainwashed, you name it. Don't name it, see it. Constantly, one works, one sees, and dissolves. So, there comes a time when things don't take over the mind so quickly, and then it's that much harder. But it doesn't matter. Even if the mind has been completely flooded, completely taken over, roots have grown. Can that be seen? Of course, here in the Sesshin, we work on Mu and Hu to get to the very bottom of this. In this little paragraph as to the vow to study the limitless Dharma, seeing constantly into one's self-nature, this is the meaning of genuine learning. This is the meaning of genuine learning. Not learning rules, regulations, precepts. Learning about oneself as one lives from moment to moment. And not accumulating it, making a book out of it that one then looks back on, and you don't see what you're doing right now, maybe different. It's so much easier to refer to memory, to what one knows, has learned by habit, by rote. That's why we do it. So much simpler just to engage, I don't know what fraction of ourselves we live in. Brain specialists tell us a very small fraction of the brain is engaged. A lot of it is completely unused. And as to the body, we all know how numb we are to this body, how little we use it fully. Not we use it. It's moving fully, without any words, creating tension and wrinkles and kinks. This is the meaning of genuine learning. Observing, watching, seeing. Wakefully, with a mind that wants to find out about itself, not about other minds according to specialists. And you're always studying something outside, which also is so much easier. Once you're used to looking into your mind, it's harder. You don't know anymore what they're talking about, because you see, they haven't seen. Some of them, but most of them know it's words. Well, we won't go into that. I advise you to take refuge in the three gems of your self-nature, in the Buddha, which means to be awakened. So the Buddha said, everyone has this capacity to wake up. Everyone, every human being. But there must be a seen need, a seen urgency for that. Not just sitting there and waiting for it to descend from. Usually we think things descend from above. Wonder why? Maybe because of the beautiful sky and the sun and the stars. But the earth is just as beautiful, the soil, and the growth, and the waters. And the sun on the waters. In the Dharma, which means to hold the perfect view. In the Sangha, which means equanimity. There is no Sangha if there's no equanimity. Then it's just a concept, an idea. Wherever there's equanimity among people, there is a Sangha. Equanimity meaning not my opinion versus yours. Then there's no Sangha, and there's already tension. All right, as long as you have my opinion, that's fine. But let's hold together against those with the other opinion. There's the rift. Equanimity can only be when there's emptiness of mind. And great love and compassion. Great love. When there's no love, there's no Sangha. There's only duty. there's love, there's no problem. Any problem can be taken care of somehow or other when there's love and care, sensitivity toward each other. In addition to seeing one's own woes, to try to figure out the other guy's or other woman's woes. Become sensitive to that. Then how could there be hatred? There's understanding. Understanding takes care of hatred. If in your own mind you take refuge in Bodhi, error and delusion do not arise. And if they arise, can they be seen, detected, discovered? Can only be if you have no image of how an American, a Zen Buddhist, a this or that should act. Then you will not want to see how you really act. So when there's images, then error and erroneous views, what did he call it? Error and delusion do arise. The image already being a delusion because one is none of that. These ideas imposed, molded upon one. Yet they're there. Can they be seen? And the danger of them, the separation, the isolation, and what comes from it, separation from others. Desires are diminished, he says. If in your own mind you take refuge in Bodhi, desires are diminished. Contentment is realized, and you're able to be detached from wealth and form. This is called the ultimate of both merit and prajna. Desires are diminished. Why do we have desires? Underneath it, always there is this feeling of inadequacy, insufficiency, lacking. Gnawing inner void, shallowness. And then thoughts arise of something one could do or have, undertake. How good would it feel? How good would I look to others? How I could prove myself to others? And one goes after it. Visions of pleasures of all kinds. It's always the thinking process in there. Always looking for something. Enjoying it for the moment and then looking for more, for something different. Remember, way back, on certain days during the week, my mother used to take me downtown. And we walked. We didn't take the streetcar. It was very, very fine to walk with my mother. Usually she had not much time. And there was another sister and a brother. For some reason, maybe they were in school. I walked with my mother alone. She held my hand. And we went to the department store. these big wooden bins, and I couldn't see what was in them. I was too short. But I could feel an incredible sadness in my mother. And she was strolling through these aisles, looking for something. If in your own mind you take refuge in bodhi, in seeing clearly, you can say, how can I take refuge in it? I don't see clearly. Well, this is what we're here for. To question everything that comes up that seems to be an obstruction, a hindrance. Remember, we've commented on Dharma gates beyond measure are vowed to penetrate. Oneself, all one's obstructions being all of one's Dharma gates. Moo, ahoo, being just that, not knowing. Desires coming up, discontentment, a Dharma gate. Discontentment, a great Dharma gate. If you always satisfy it, fill it, it's no Dharma gate. It's circling around and around and around. If in your own mind you take refuge in perfect view, one thought follows another thought without false views. It doesn't say no more thoughts. One thought follows another thought without false views. The false view being the ego perspective, which can be detected. We have that capacity. If we need to, if we absolutely need to, we can get to the moon, we'll get to Jupiter. Why can't we get into ourselves, to the very bottom? See what's there. We marvel at the empty space. Up there, out there. All this empty space inside. Without any scare or threat. Because it's not a word, it's not a concept. It is nothing. Which means love and compassion for everything. When there are no false views, then there's no self or others. No arrogance, greed, lust, prejudice, or attachment. And this is called the ultimate of the abandoning of desires. Not the willful abandoning or suppressing or repressing of desires. Much evil can come out of that, and has come out of it. Inquisitions, etc. To be intimate with one's desires, non-judgmental, in touch, understanding, and not to let thought run away with them. Fantasy, imagination. We often talk about this in Doksan when one is tremendously hungry and there's no way at the moment of getting food. What happens in the mind? One immediately starts imagining good food. Usually not just a piece of bread, it's a little bit more. A good restaurant. Something mouth-watering. So one has put oneself into the movie theater of one's own imagination, and one is not in touch with what's actually going on here. What is going on? Why is one not interested in what hunger really is? Without any imagination about what one is going to do about it. What is it? One has to pay attention to it, listen to it, feel it, see it, sense it, be with it. In this there's no suppression or repression or judgment. But understanding of the fact how we satisfy biological urges with fantasy. So the fantasy itself becomes very important, becomes a conditioner. The fantasy can then evoke the biological urge. So we tamper with that through fantasy. And then we complain about this horrible body which is so need or drive-ridden. But we tamper with it through our fantasy and imagination, memories. Can that all be seen rather than studying psychology books? There must be great interest in that, a consuming interest. Not just superficial, but because one understands if there is not intimacy with this, one will do all kinds of blind, stupid and insensitive things to oneself and others. Perfect view is called the ultimate of the abandoning of desires. In other words, it flows from that. Not that one is never hungry again, never sleeps with a man or a woman again. It doesn't say that. Repression always means fear, and fear needs to be looked into. If in your own mind you take refuge in equanimity, it is to have one's self-nature uncolored by or attached to any kind of worldly anxieties, lusts, desires, and conditions. Uncolored by or attached to, it does not say that they will be stamped out, eradicated. It doesn't say that. Uncolored by. We're human beings. We carry with us a heritage of millions of years. programmed into the brain. Equanimity, meaning this vast space inside, which has room for everyone and everything. If you practice it in this way, this is to take refuge in yourself. Not understanding this, ordinary people may recite the 3 refuges from morning till night. But if this is taking refuge in the Buddha, where is the Buddha? If you cannot see the Buddha, in what do you trust for refuge? Such words are the height of delusion. Age-old habit, we talked about it yesterday, of taking refuge in some outside being, some outside agency who will take care of us somehow or other. Which means no looking into one's own fears of standing alone. No experience ever with standing alone and finding out what this is all about. Churches thrive on this fear. And perpetuate themselves on this fear of human beings afraid to stand alone. Before passing into parinirvana, Buddha was asked by Ananda something, I don't have it written down here, as I recall it was something about the succession. Who after you? What after you have died? Who will we go to? Something like that. One can imagine it. It's not hard to imagine. And the Buddha said, therefore, O Ananda, all of you, not just Ananda, be ye lamps unto yourselves. Be ye a refuge to yourselves. Betake yourselves to no external refuge. Hold fast to the truth as a lamp. The truth being what is, as seen with undeluded eyes. Hold fast as a refuge to the truth. Look not for refuge to anyone beside yourselves. And whosoever, Ananda, either now or after I am dead, shall be a lamp unto themselves, shall betake themselves to no external refuge, but holding fast to the truth as their lamp, and holding fast as their refuge to the truth, shall look for no refuge to anyone beside themselves. It is they, Ananda, among my bhikkhus, who shall reach the very topmost height. But they must be anxious to learn. Not to study the scriptures, but to learn. learning meaning, seeing into the truth of oneself, which is the truth of all humankind, none excluded. We'll end here for today. The four vows.
All beings without number.
I vow to liberate endless blind passions. I vow to uproot Dharma gates beyond measure. I vow to penetrate the great way of Buddha. I vow to attain all beings without number. I vow to liberate endless blind passions. I vow to uproot Dharma gates beyond measure. I vow to penetrate the great way of Buddha. I vow to attain all beings without number. I vow to liberate endless blind passions. I vow to uproot Dharma gates beyond measure. I vow to penetrate the great way of Buddha. I vow to attain